Hello, I'm Beverly Childs, Executive Director of the Anderson County Museum in Anderson, South Carolina. And today I'm standing in our Trade Street exhibit and beside our 1840s Edgefield jar. We call it the Orr Edgefield jar because it was donated to us down through the James L. Orr family, who was Speaker of the House prior to the Civil War and also a governor of South Carolina. The story goes that this jar sat on our donor's porch as her umbrella stand. So join me as we walk through and I show you some different Edgefield pottery from two upstate collectors.
Edgefield pottery began in the early 1800s by Abner Landrum in an experiment to find a way to supplant the need to import stoneware from the north or from Europe. In the South, the large plantations needed much larger storage vessels than the average farmer outside the South. At that time, it was becoming evident that lead-glazed stoneware in use up to that period was leaching lead into the food, which caused illness and death. In the North, pottery makers were already using salt glazes, but in the South, salt was too expensive. Abner Landrum theorized that alkaline glazes, like the one the Chinese had invented many years earlier, may be the answer to his problem. With alkaline glazes, Landrum knew he already had all the ingredients nearby. He began experimenting, and soon the Edgefield-style pottery was born. It was such a success that by the mid-19th century, Edgefield was home to several large plantation-based potteries. These potteries began competing with one another, and many of the resulting wares became works of art made by expert craftsmen that were decorated with beautiful motifs and flourishes. The Anderson County Museum's Orr family Edgefield jar was purchased by the James L. Orr family for use in their home. It is believed that Governor Orr or his father, Christopher Orr, may have owned it. The Orr family member who donated the jar to the museum was said to have used the jar on her front porch to hold umbrellas. Cut into the side of the jar is Phoenix Factory ED, which stands for Edgefield, South Carolina. The jar is 21 inches in height and 62 inches in circumference. Written with glaze on the Orr Edgefield jar is the year 1840. The date of 1840 corresponds to Chandler's early years at Phoenix Factory. However, there are no markings on the jar to verify that this is a Thomas Chandler piece. Alkaline glazes are used to give pottery a waterproof finish. The glaze may be transparent, opaque, or colored. The main glazes were lead, tin, and salt. These storage jars date from the 1840s to the 1860s. The Pottersville factory storage jars have an early alkaline glaze. The mixing bowls are alkaline glazed in circa 1850. The owner thinks the mixing bowls may be Chandler or Miles. This brick was made by Dave Drake with a stick figure scratched into it. Similar figures are also on at least two pieces of pottery he made. This very large and early, circa late 1820s storage jar was made when Harvey Drake operated the pottery works before 1832. It possibly was made by Dave Drake, an enslaved person, because it has many features of his later signed pieces. He did not write on any pottery when he worked for Harvey or Reuben Drake or the Landrums because South Carolina law was very strict that literacy was forbidden among enslaved people. This Thomas Chandler light Celadon green glaze bowl has an iron slip decoration. It is fairly common to see this Celadon glaze on Chandler bowls. Although glaze colors were sometimes hit or miss as to the exact color that would come out of the firing, Chandler seemed to have this particular glaze down to a science. This rare Chandler water pitcher with ice lip is a very light, almost straw-colored alkaline glaze with a brushed-on iron decoration. The spring floral motif in this design is similar to some of the Rhodes decorated pieces. According to some well-known Edgefield experts, Thomas Chandler did the majority of all Edgefield decorations, although there is not a consensus among collectors which could explain the similarities. Shown is two Thomas Chandler loop decorated jars and a center jar by the Broken Stem potter. The Chandler jar with the very dark loops is circa 1840 and is marked Chandler Maker. The loop decorated jar on the left is circa 1850s. The broken stem piece in the center is probably circa 1860s. These Bainham and Sunnyvale pottery pieces are some of the last pottery produced in the Edgefield area. To the left is a selection of late 19th century pottery, circa 1880 to 1900. All these pieces have the later brown Albany slip glazes, not the early alkaline glazes. To the right, these three pieces are from the pottery factory that some call Sunnyvale. They have a pinkish alkaline glaze and date from the late 1890s. This two-handled 5-gallon flower jug is by Colin, Rhodes. It is called a flower jug because the 5 is formed as part of the flower at the top. The glaze is a medium greenish-brown alkaline glaze with the decoration comprised of a brush on iron with a trailing kaolin slip. This rare one-handle 3-gallon Colin Rose jug with a medium shade greenish-brown alkaline glaze has a trailing kaolin slip decoration which says Southern Make, C. Rhodes, Edgefield District, South Carolina. Only 1 or 2 other jugs are known to have this exact marking. This jug is circa 1840 to 1855. This rare half-gallon decorated Colin Rhodes pitcher is circa 1840 to 1855. It has a medium greenish-brown alkaline glaze decorated with a trailing slip kaolin with floral sprigs enclosing C. Rhodes Maker. The half-inch inside the medallion at the top indicates the capacity as half-gallon. No one knows what the 32 inside the parentheses stands for, but my guess would be that it is a production mark. This is another Colin Rhodes piece, which is circa 1840 to 1855 also. It has a medium greenish-brown alkaline glaze with white trailed slip sprig decoration. Edgefield Pottery is a unique South Carolina tradition that has endured for more than 200 years. On behalf of the Anderson County Museum, I thank you for joining me today as we viewed pieces from area collectors and learned more about the pottery traditions of the Edgefield area in South Carolina. I hope that you will visit the Anderson County Museum to see our 1840s Edgefield jar and learn even more about the history of South Carolina and Anderson County. Please continue to check us out on social media and on our website, andersoncountymuseum.org.